many of us get, into this flow of you go to school, you finish school, you go to work, you retire, and that's it. And, when everyone, it's like kind of a routine that we are trained to live. But what if there was another option to maybe, we live through a routine anyway, maybe we can make it more joyful.
What is going on, Schmoozers? Welcome back to the podcast where you hear from proud Jews about their personal brands. I'm David Cobby, and you are about to hear from an individual who has tons of experiences reading people's minds. Yes, you've heard that correctly. From his time as an IDF soldier to founding a revolutionary mind technique called HMA, this individual has always used his skills in life for good. He's the founder of his own coaching company where he helps people improve their thinking and also dabbles in podcasting where he's created the podcast called Live Your Best Self. Please welcome the man who is empowering lives through the art of subconscious communication, Yuval Teren. Yuval, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, David.
Of course.
How are you doing?
Yuval, I actually just started my full-time job. So I'm balancing the podcast and I'm balancing my full-time job right now. So busy, as I'm sure you are, but I am beyond excited to get into this conversation with you. I think I have a lot of questions about the subconscious mind. I think all our listeners do. So if you're ready to get right into it, you want to go right into your Jewish geography profile?
Let's go.
All right. Okay. So, Yuval, where did you grow up and where do you currently live now?
So I grew up in Kiryat Motzkin, Israel, which is Haifa area, northern part of Israel. And currently I live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So I live already in Florida for 2 years and in the US for 3 years.
Wow. So you're very new. So you moved to the United States, what year, 2021 then?
2021, yes.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And how does Florida compare to Haifa? Is it better, worse, like in terms of like beauty? What's more beautiful?
I can't compare. It's different. In Haifa, though, we don't have hurricanes, but I got used to it. But the weather here in Florida is also great. Winter time is great. Summer is a bit hot, but great people, great weather. Also in Haifa, great people and great weather.
Okay. So obviously the move from Israel to America is a big change. And I want to ask you, as an Israeli, and I've actually never asked an Israeli this, as an Israeli, what is your least favorite thing about Americans?
Wow, tough question. I don't know, to be honest. Least favorite thing. Definitely had at the beginning some culture shocks, but I got used to them. I feel like I drifted away into the culture shocks that I used to have right now.
Okay. See, Yuval, that was actually a test question because I know you're such a positive guy and you're all about promoting positivity and everything. So I'm glad you didn't answer anything negative because I would have been like, oh, wait a second, hold on. But there's a lot to like and a lot to hate about Americans. And obviously what the culture between, like you mentioned, the culture between Israel and America is vastly different. And one of the things that's extremely different is the food, right? And I think we can both agree that the food here is not as good as Israel. I want to ask you though, shawarma is a very big staple in Israel and also all the Middle East. Do you prefer beef or lamb shawarma? This is a huge debate I have with my family. So I want to get your intake on this.
Wow. So my take on this is half.
Oh, chetzi, Ken?
Chetzi.
Okay.
Always half.
I like that. So you're ordering and they say mata rotze and they're like, and you're like chetzi. Always, or is it?
Always chetzi.
Okay. I like that. And you like everything inside of your laffa? You like chips, salatim, akol, Ken?
White cabbage, red cabbage, salad,
Okay.
onion,
Akol.
tahini, whatever.
Kharif kam or no?
Harif, spicy also.
Okay.
Everything.
Good. I was gonna say you aren't a real Israeli if you don't get everything in the pita and the laffa. All right. So final question for you in your Jewish geography profile, and then we'll get into your childhood a little bit. Is what's a Hebrew phrase that you wish more people in America would start using?
That's a good question. I think a good sentence to remember is Tov Shem Tov Mishemen Tov. So it's basically your name is being a good person, having a good record under your name is more important. It's better than the best oil, perfume out there, the best kind of thing. So to remember to be a mensch, you say in Yiddish. Be a good person and see others, pay attention to others. Remember to be human.
I like it. I think that goes into a lot of what my podcast is, and you talk about your name and how it has a reputation with it, and being a good person like you are, and everything you're doing is so important. And I try and bring on people that, kind of represent their name well, which is exactly why I have you on the podcast. And, you at a very young age started out by having a very big name for yourself. And, when we go a little bit into your childhood, you mentioned in various times on your website, in podcasts that you've done, that at a very young age, you performed with your brothers. Talk about your relationship with your brothers and how that impacted your ability to, become a mentalist, do all these amazing things in the world. How did your relationship with your brothers, I guess, like, motivate you to become, this amazing person with this amazing name?
So we performed the whole family, not only my brothers. It used to call the Teren brothers, but it used to be my parents and my siblings. We're four siblings. I have two brothers, they're twins, and a sister. And we used to perform all together with my parents. Used to cut my mom in half, shrink her. I used to go in a box, and they used to put knives in the box, and then I would come back alive, of course. And I would say my relationship with my siblings are great. We're in a very good connection. I used to be I'm the youngest, so I used to be like the little kid in the house, kind of. So everyone used to be like my parents. So I'm very good. We have a very good connection with my siblings. We keep in touch. They're living in Israel, but we keep in touch regularly.
I love that. And so you performed magic and all these tricks in front of people in Israel, correct?
In Israel, at the beginning in Israel, I performed since I was 5-year-old.
Okay.
And I started to perform later on since I was 12-year-old by myself, a one-man show as a mentalist, mind-reading show, psychological magic, you can call it.
Okay.
And from then, it kept on going. I kept on developing my skills. Later on, through the magic world and the mentalism world, I discovered the psychology world, which brought me into asking the question of why am I here and how can I make my time here in this world more meaningful for me? What makes me passionate about the things that I do? And that's what got me into the self-development world and helping people take the skills. If I'm using a lot of skills from the stage world, from neuro-linguistic programming, from the coaching world, from the psychology world, I combine it, and the spiritual world also, I combine it all together to help people develop themselves, their skills, and bring out their best selves out to the world.
That's so amazing that you're doing that, because I really don't think there's a lot of other people. If there are people that are doing what you're doing, they're not doing a good job of it. Because what you're doing with people, and, we'll go into all the different services that you provide and, all the, your podcast and everything. It's just so amazing that you're promoting this positive light, and we're going to talk about the HMA method. I really want to get into that. All these like innovative things that you're doing is just like so amazing for people to help them think straight and help them become a better person, which is, I think it's everybody's mission in life to help another person become a better person. So with that being said, I kind of want to go into a little bit about how during the Army, you kind of discovered that you could actually apply psychology to some of the stuff that you're doing in the Army. Why don't you talk about your experience in the IDF and how you were able to incorporate your passion for psychology into your role in your unit?
So I served as the IDF's first mind reader, the Israel Defense Forces. That's what the IDF stands for. So I used to serve as the first IDF's mind reader, which basically is the closest name for what I do. What I do is to analyze people very good, and that's also one of the things that I used to combine in my shows as entertainment. But in the Army, I started to do motivational shows and coaching for high-ranked officers and soldiers. So combining the analysis and showing people how they can develop themselves and improve themselves, and what are those mental obstacles that block them from achieving the goals they need to. And I used to do also regular training as a soldier and everything as a soldier, guarding and all the soldier things, but mainly I used to be a speaker and a motivational speaker. So I used to meet with many different soldiers from all over Israel, go up the north, south, all around, and motivate soldiers, coach, help people think differently.
So did they ever, when I initially saw that you were a mind reader and in the IDF, my initial thought was like, oh, they put this guy in front of a Hamas terrorist, and he would know where they'd be, hiding a hostage or hiding something. Did they ever do that with you, or you didn't want to go into that field because it wasn't what you wanted to do?
So my main goal, I used to work with our soldiers, our teams. I was in more secretive places, more secretive meetings, more things, very interesting. I had a very interesting service, but the main goal thing was to motivate, inspire, help people, help the soldiers, officers think differently, see everything from a different angle.
And how did you, I know being in, especially when you're in a combat unit, when you're in the front lines and you're seeing all these extremely, scary things. And I mean, we see what's going on today, and I don't want to even get into that because it's just so heart-wrenching. And the fact that we still have so many hostages in Gaza right now, and all the war and the Nova Festival, everything, it's terrible. I can't imagine being in the IDF and seeing that, with your own eyes. I see it through the media, and it's horrible. I can't imagine it in the IDF. But how were you able to, get these soldiers who have seen literally the worst of the worst and get them to think differently? Like, what techniques did you use specifically for the soldiers to help them think differently and push past this kind of barrier of, trauma?
In the Army right now, so I'm not serving right now. I finished my service already. But in general, a few things that we can do to change our perspectives, even though after tough events, first of all, is to understand that we've been through a tough event. That's the first thing, realizing what we've been through. Realize that it's not, it's a pain for the whole country. It's not, I'm talking with you, but I know people that went to the Nova Festival, and I have friends that survived it also, but also I know people that didn't survive it, unfortunately. So it's a tough situation, tough thing to answer also, because it's a very tough, hard situation for the whole country. But the main thing I think to remember is that we need to be strong, stand strong, and we need to overcome our fears and go beyond the fear, the anger, beyond it, to keep on, stand strong, perform ourselves at the best, of ourselves and stand for the country and stand for what's right and for the truth, because it's not a problem of only Israel, it's the problem of the whole world. And in some places it's already spreading. You see things around, you hear in the news, but we gotta stand strong, because Israel is not blocking only for Israel, is blocking attacks for the world.
Yep. Yeah. It's a very tough situation. And I think a big part of it is the mindset and getting in the right mind space, because, unfortunately, there's not a lot with any situation. Forget about Israel for a second. There's not a lot you can do in a situation where something goes wrong, a death in the family, you lose your job, you make a bad investment. Like there's so much that can go wrong in the world, really. And the people that amaze me the most are those that have been in those tough situations and they're like, this is out of my control. I'm going to switch my thinking. And, I think a lot of it has to do with the subconscious mind, which is something that you are very focused on in your work and have been since your days in the Army. So why did you decide to focus on the subconscious mind as opposed to, every other part of psychology, which, ranges so widely? Why the subconscious mind? I feel like that's something that's super niche. So tell us a little bit about why you did that.
I'm a man of mystery. I love mystery. And as I come from the magic world and the mentalism world, I discovered a lot of things and techniques that actually influence people to think in that way or another, and starting to explore why do people think in a certain way and how we can change maybe the way they think. So it used to be at the beginning for entertainment purposes, but then actually to help people change their perspective in the way they want it. So I started to delve more into the subconscious, as this part basically is a part of our mind. Our mind, it's a description for all of the things that many things that combine into it, which is the conscious, subconscious. We can think about emotions, thoughts, different things that go under the category of the mind. And the subconscious is actually giving us a lot of making the decisions for us. Sometimes we have when we learn, for example, as little kids, we learn how to stand up, right? We learn, we crawl and then we try to stand and we fall. We try to stand and we fall until we learn, we practice, we train our brain to learn it. Until it becomes a habit that we just do. We just stand up, we walk, and we take it for granted. We don't need to think about it. Our brain is trained. But in this process, we teach our subconscious to act for us. We don't need to, because we can't be aware of everything we do. When we're speaking right now, I can't think about what I'm about to say. You ask me a question, and the subconscious shoots out the information. So we have to trust that we have a lot of information in our subconscious that we see around us during the day. When we walk around, we see a lot of things, we experience a lot of things. That's why we can be sad sometimes and not understand why. But it's all a process that goes in our brain and in our mental image of the world, how we see the world in our perspective, and what triggers us, what not triggers us. So all of this information is in our subconscious part of our mind.
This is such good information, guys. I mean, one thing that really clicked with me was when you were talking about how when I'm talking, it's like my subconscious mind kicks in because I'm not thinking about what I'm gonna say. It's like I already know what I'm gonna say, and it just spits out, and it's so cool to, learn this and from an expert like you. Another part of the subconscious mind that I think is a little bit more visual is this idea of gestures, body language, all this stuff, which also plays a huge role in the subconscious mind. In my marketing class, I learned about something called a DISC profile, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, but essentially it covers, 4 different kind of personality types. One of them being dominant, which is what I am, influence, and I forgot what the other 2 stand for. Maybe but
controlling,
and wait, hold on, I have it written down. Controlling and Steady.
Supportive, I think.
Supportive or steady.
Study.
There we go. Okay. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I guess, you know, body language is so important to every situation. Why don't you go a little bit into the importance of body language and how it translates to understanding an individual?
There's a quote that I love. It's a Chinese proverb that says that the soul doesn't have a secret that the body doesn't tell. So we give away always clues. We give away always information about what do we feel inside. So that's why working on what's on the inside is very important, because we share it always outside. If we're sad, we will express it. We are expressive beings. We're expressive human beings. We were born to communicate. That's why we have mouth, we have eyes, we have ears, we have body language. We communicate in different ways. It was not meant for us to speak with ourselves, but whether to speak with others and leave an impact on others. That's why, it's funny to think, but sometimes we ask ourselves, what's our purpose here in this world? And we can not miss out the part where, as much as maybe it would make sense to live for ourselves, but doing something good for others makes us feel good also. The way we are structured is meant to work with others, is meant to impact others. And we have to learn and see what are those innate skills, what are those things that we do that will help us impact others. So this ties us back to the body language. We want to make sure that the body language will express who we are from the inside to the outside world, and not the things. If you don't feel inside that something that is not good, that you want to change from the inside, something that you don't like from the inside, change it. We are able to change. We're able to stretch our inner container. We can call it like this. So if we talk about body language, for example, very simple things is to stand straight, have a smile on our face, and it immediately creates a certain assumptions. I call it subconscious codes. So there are certain subconscious codes that when people see them, when we apply them in our lives, it happens naturally in people's lives, but sometimes not. So if we want people to assume certain things about ourselves, we can apply those subconscious codes into our life. So one of them is body language. How do we use the body language? It's like, it's like in the GTA game that you put a code and then something changes in the game. So we change something in the game. We put a mental code. So we say, now we're going to stand straight. We put a smile on our face. And automatically when someone will look at us, his first assumption would be different. He would look at us as a confident person. And if there is also an outfit code, a dress code, if you dress in a certain way without speaking, without saying anything, people will look at you and have certain assumptions. So you can actually control on what others would think about you. So that's why it's very important to think and to vision who we want to become, who's the person we were born to be, how this person is dressed, how this person is walking, how his body language looks like, how he speaks, his tonality. And the person that we vision, it's who we are really from the inside. And we can bring this person now into ourselves, now into our life. So if it's to put the outfit that makes us feel good, stand in a way that makes us feel good, speak in a way that makes us feel good, and combine it into the person that we want to become, which is who we really are, and apply it in our life. Bring this person now into our life.
This is all such useful information. I mean, Yuval, like I've learned more about the brain and about body language just in this 20-minute conversation than I have in any psychology, science, whatever you call it class. Like, honestly, just become a school teacher at this point. Like this is all you need to know. And body language is so important in every single aspect of your life. Like I mentioned, your perception of how you see somebody and somebody's perception of how they see you is absolutely everything. You could be on, the inside a good person, right? And have good intentions. But if you're constantly, slouching, frowning, you don't keep yourself neat, you don't get haircuts, you don't look presentable, people are going to, rightfully so, make assumptions about you and have this prejudice against you. And it's really up to you to, we talk about personal branding on this podcast. That is the main essential part. A part of personal branding is how you physically present yourself, right? I talk a lot about the mental side of it where, skills, networking, career development, all that stuff. But the physical side of it is almost just as important. And, making sure that you're continuously presenting yourself in a good light and, not wearing, I don't know, clothes with holes in them. Simple as that. Like there's so much stuff that like you can do to really build up your physical image that you can't really do to help out your mental or your inner image, I guess. So this is all super, super useful information. And I want to get into something I've been hyping up in the intro, and I alluded to it before, the HMA method. So this is a revolutionary method that you yourself came up with. And before explaining what exactly the HMA method is, why don't you tell everybody what it stands for and why you created it?
So before we speak about the HMA, I want to mention one more thing. So because I know some listeners say, wait, why do I care about what others think about me? And it's a good question, but the whole point of it is to ask ourselves who we are as people and how do we want to express ourselves out of the world, the person we were born to be, to have a life with impact, with joy, with happiness. How the person that the future us that have all of it, how do they behave, think, dress? That's the purpose of it. It's not only what others would think about ourselves. Others would join to who we are, the person we were born to be. Others were joining their assumptions to what we already know about ourselves. That's the point of it. So just for our listeners to make sure they understand the point clearly, because it's really worth to check out who we were born to be and vision our future. So HMA stands for happiness, mind, and action, which we can imagine it as a triangle that on top has happiness. We go to the right side, it has mind. We go to the left side, it has action, which it's basically three things that would motivate us to live a purposeful life. What is a purposeful life? That's a question. So that's the happiness part. What would make me happy? What my soul wants. So it comes, from the perspective. Also, you talked about Judaism. So in Judaism, it speaks about that we have two souls. We have the animal soul and the godly soul. And so the animal soul is more of the materialistic soul that let the body live, basically. We need food, we need, everything that connects to the material world. We need food, we make money, everything that will help us survive, kind of. And sometimes it's those things that makes us live more, focus on the materialistic things in the world. And the spiritual soul is what can we do good in the world? How can we impact? How we can help others? That's something in all of us that we have. And we need to ask ourselves, how come that we have those questions in ourselves? Why do we care about others? Because we have something in us that motivates us towards it. So Judaism teaches us about those two different parts that we have in us. And the HMA combines basically those two worlds, how we can live in a materialistic world with a spiritual soul, basically. So the happiness part is what makes us happy, what our soul really wants. So you can if maybe you say, I'm not a spiritual guy, I don't believe in spiritualism. There is nothing to believe or not to believe in, as we are, you can call it in any way that you feel right, but something in us wants something more than just materialism, because you can see many successful people in the world, actors, singers, that unfortunately, sadly, ended their lives because they felt unsatisfied and they had everything materialistic-wise, money, fame, everything, but something was missing in their lives. So this part is the spiritual part. What impact do I have here? What is the purpose? What is my purpose here in this world? So we focus not only on the materialistic goals when I work with people, because I found out working with people only on their materialistic goals, it's not satisfying them, because they have a goal, they say, okay, I want to grow my business from point A to point B to make more money. They reached it. Then what? So it's about changing our approach to life, having a bigger purpose that all of the smaller goals join. They are going along that purpose, but we motivate ourselves towards a bigger goal. How do we impact people? What do we leave behind when we move on in life later on to the next world, to whatever you believe in? What do we leave behind? How do we impact people? How do we change lives to become better? So that's the whole point of the system. So the mind part, HMA, the H, the happiness is our soul. It's the inner part of us, what makes us really happy, joy, satisfied, purposeful. The mind is the key. The mind is the key to the soul answers, basically, for our inner part, the part in us that knows all the answers, the subconscious, the deeper than the subconscious is what we really want to be in life. What do we want to become? What is our purpose? It's already in us. We have the answers because we were born with certain innate skills. We like to do certain things. We are attracted to certain things. It has a reason for us to become a certain person. So the mind basically is the key to understand those answers of our soul, of this inner part that have all the answers for our purpose. And the action part is where we basically take action and execute the soul desire, the soul purpose, our purpose in life. What actions would make us live our life with purpose, with joy, with happiness? So we want to make sure once we do those 3 steps, we use them to help people have an harmonious life where we always have ups and downs, but once we have a bigger purpose, we go and overcome those ups and downs and stand stronger, motivate ourselves. We're motivated to do more, create more, be more, because we have higher standards for our lives, and we help others to change their lives along our way. We were born here to help others grow. It's a life of growth. It's a circle of growth. We're all growing together. So that's about the HMA and its purpose and the idea behind it.
Wow. I love how you tied the Jewish aspect into it too. And I didn't even ask you to do that. So thank you, Rabbi Yuval. I think you're a rabbi now. But that was, guys, this is stuff you've never, ever heard before. Like, this is stuff we don't get taught in school. Our own parents don't even teach us this. Like, I don't know why this is not being taught. Like, this is so crucial to helping you develop as a person. And I mean, Yuval's got it all. I mean, which is exactly why he started his own coaching firm, which offers, pretty much any kind of mental service you need under the umbrella, whether it's networking tips, whether it's public speaker, whether it's negotiation tips. Like, he does it all. Like, this man, he's got all the secrets. And I want you to talk about, clearly you're extremely knowledgeable on all these subjects. Talk about how you started this coaching firm and, how you've maintained the success of your coaching firm and of your brand, through providing everybody these amazing, amazing tips and tricks and coaching that nobody else can provide.
So as we talked before, I started from the stage world. So I used to be a performer for, until today, I call myself a performer because every time I stand on stage, I perform. And we're all performers in some kind, in a way or in that way or another. We all need to perform ourselves out there. That's why I combine today also tips and skills from the stage world to help people apply them in their everyday lives to improve the way they present themselves. But it all started from the magic shows, the mentalism shows, the psychology world of magic that brought me into the understanding. People used to ask me all the time, if you do all of those things, how can you help others? Maybe you can help others change, grow with those skills that you have. And it started to make me think, because I used to perform, enjoy performing magic shows and mentalism shows, but something was missing. And that question really made me think, how do I bring my purpose more out to the world? What is my purpose here? What can I bring out more and help people change using those skills? Why was I born here? from the beginning. What's the reason? So, and then I started to discover, and I went myself to different seminars, coaching, trainings. Since I'm a young boy, I used to go all around the world, learn from different things. I learned how to hypnotize, how to do hypnosis when I was in 7th grade. So I was very young. So I did already hypnosis when I was, I think it was 12 or 13-year old, which I was the only kid in that class learning. Basically, it was all adults. I was the only young person doing this class. So I got into the psychology world at a very early age, which got me think about different things. But later on, as I joined the army after that, I opened a clinic in Tel Aviv where I used to do coaching and training, mental training, you can call it, one-on-one. So I used to help people with anxiety, stress, phobias they had, if it's flight fears, and also to reach their goals, how to overcome those mental barriers to reach their goals. And later on, working with people, I found out something was missing, and that's the sense of purpose. Why are we doing all of this work? What's the reason? Because you have a goal, you have a second goal, you have a third goal, but what's the bigger goal? That's what brought me into developing the HMA system approach, the approach that will help people put together those fields in their life and live with a sense of purpose, live with purpose, taking action in their life that have more importance and that feel good for them. And they can live their life with more energy, more joy, more excitement, more love, that whatever they do, they feel more because they do more, they express more, and they attract more good into their life. So that's how kind of the snowball kept on rolling. And after that, I moved to the US, and I used to do my events and everything in Israel. And I came to the US to expand it to the world. So more people also, I used to do it only in Hebrew. I used to do sometimes also internationally, but mainly in Hebrew. It was in Israel. And here in the US, I came here to expand it to the world. So other people from all over the world can experience, change their perspective, and help more people change their lives and live their life with purpose. So that's how kind of my snowball kept on rolling. And I worked with CEOs, still working with CEOs, armies, leaders, lawyers, whatever you say, you name it. It's many different types of people that basically, it doesn't matter what level they were, it's how they can go into the next step, because it's not a game of only of a materialistic goal. It's not how to get more of money, more materialistic things. It's how we can live with purpose and how we can open our life into a more joyful happiness. What are those mental things that we can change to have a better quality of life? That it also changes usually naturally the materialistic world. It has an impact on the materialistic world once we change our mindset, our perspectives, once we eliminate, get rid of the fears and anxiety, stress, and we focus on what do we want to really get out of this life. But how do we combine it together and have a better quality life?
Again, guys, like I'm like speechless right now. Like this is exactly what I love to hear. Self-improvement, positivity, all that stuff. Like, Yuval, you are speaking my language. And this makes me think of your podcast, the Live Your Best Self podcast, and which is phenomenal podcast. I had the opportunity to listen to an episode. I think I mentioned to you this when we were on the phone about, speaking of clothing, we were talking about how clothing can literally affect how people perceive you. So I want to ask you, based on this podcast and assuming that you created it to help other people, how many people out there do you think are really not living their best life, right? Like, clearly it seems like people are always unhappy. The divorce rate is high. With American teens and high schoolers and college students, like the amount of stress and anxiety that's going on throughout America right now is horrible. So how many people out there do you really think are like not living their best life? And what are some like simple tricks that people can do to really shift their mindset to living to their full potential and living life to their fullest?
I don't have a number, but many of us get, into this flow of you go to school, you finish school, you go to work, you retire, and that's it. And and everyone, it's like kind of a routine that we are trained to live. But what if there was another option to maybe, we live through a routine anyway, maybe we can make it more joyful, maybe we can make it more important for us with more impact. So that's the whole point of it. It's not necessarily to change our life 180 degrees, but how we can implement different changes in our mind and perspectives and change the stories that we tell ourselves and the way that we behave, think, act, the strategies that we have, the mental strategies that we have to change the experience, how we experience situations. Experience life, it's an interesting thing. You can imagine that person sits in a restaurant and he's a CEO, he's a great CEO of a big company. He makes a lot of money and he looks at the waiter and in his mind he goes, wow, I wish, he looks back, he said, wow, I wish I was back again when I was a waiter. I had no problems in life. And now I have so many things on my mind and so many things to manage and life is so busy. And the waiter looks at him and says, wow, I wish I could be a CEO like him, sitting here in a restaurant, enjoying my life, no problems at all. So it's only a matter of perspectives, how we see life. We can be in every situation. We can be in whatever job we can be and not be satisfied. We can have everything. We can have nothing, but you can have nothing and be happy. You can have everything and be sad. So it's how we combine the world of the mental world, the materialistic world, to be able to work and do things, to live in this world, because the moment we are born, we have to pay certain things. That's how the world works. So also be able to pay those things, but more than that, be happy and live that with joy. So we live with more purpose. So one of the things to change our perspectives, to do this shift in our mind, is a cool concept from neurolinguistic programming, which is the research of success. They researched how Dr. Richard Bandler and John Grinder, they researched how successful people became successful. What do they do mentally differently from others? So they took the best athletes, therapists, they started to build models out of their mental patterns. And they discovered that there are similarities between them. And everything has a strategy. We have a strategy of winning. We have a strategy of losing. Either way, we have a strategy. Whether it's a good one, or it's good either way, it gives us a result. But whether it's effective, it gives us the result we want. So if we feel, for example, that we're not satisfied, if we feel that we're not satisfied enough from our life, a good question to change this thinking pattern would be, what would make us satisfied in life? What would change our perspective? What would make me satisfied? If I would wake up tomorrow and I could do whatever I want, what would I do? And thinking also, I could do whatever I want to do, and it would succeed. What would I do? It's a different question. It will allow us to think, to imagine. And imagination is a very important tool, because that's, imagination. If Walt Disney wouldn't imagine, there wouldn't be Disney here, the huge Disney in Florida. If Steve Jobs wouldn't be creative, imagine that it's possible to do an iPhone and build it and create it, it wouldn't be such a crazy brand, amazing brand today. Elon Musk, if he wouldn't think that it's possible to make a brand of the electric cars, and now he's got the satellites all around the world, flying around in space and to get to space. And it's a different story when we imagine. It gives us the ability to do more things, to grow big. And some people think, no, imagination is not important, but that's the important part, because our brain doesn't know how to separate between reality and imagination. That's why we can sit at home with ourselves and remember at a sad story that happened to us and start crying, or remember at someone at work that told us something that made us angry and start to get angry. And it's all in our mind. Our imagination triggers our emotions. So whatever we focus on is whatever we're going to feel. So we want to make sure we focus on the things that we want to feel. So asking the right questions would help us focus on the right things. So instead of asking, why am I frustrated? Ask, what would make me feel good? Because it doesn't matter. You're frustrated. You're doing it well. You're already frustrated. You have a perfect strategy to be frustrated. Change it. Ask yourself, how can I be happy right now? What would make me happy? So maybe it's to take a walk outside. Maybe it's something needs to be different in the strategy. And there are also mental strategies that's what I work with people through guided imagery and certain techniques that change our mental strategy, that we check what is the current one and we change it to a new one more effectively. So, but an easy thing would be to ask the right questions. Instead of, why am I frustrated? What would make me right now feel happy? It would be change my body language, go for a walk, maybe drink some water, change a little bit, call to a friend, but also add to that question, pay attention to how would you behave differently, talk differently, what's your tonality, how your tonality changes between frustrated and happy, and change it also, because our body language and our tonality, once we change it, it affects also our mood. It goes together. It goes along, as we know it already. As when we feel sad, we're our shoulders drop down. We speak, we speak more internally. We keep our voice for ourselves, and we're crouched. Instead, open your body, open your chest, smile. And it might feel weird for the first 5 seconds, but do the things then that would make you feel better. Combined with the body language, it would change your state, your mood immediately.
It's the stuff that you're explaining, right? It seems very high level on paper, right? But all you're doing is switching, literally, all you're doing, you're switching your mindset. Instead of asking, I love that you brought this up. Instead of asking, why am I so upset, right? As I mentioned, there are so many things that can go wrong that you simply don't have control over, right? You can ask yourself, okay, all this stuff is happening, right? I'm stressed out. I'm anxious. Whatever. This person's making me angry. Instead of focusing on that, you could say, okay, this stuff's happening, but what am I going to do to be happy right now, despite this happening? It's so easy to switch your mindset just like that. And this is amazing stuff, guys. This is easily one of the most important things that you can learn that that a guest has taught me on this show. I do this all the time. When I'm upset, switch the mindset, and it makes things so much better. And that really doesn't happen without, pushing yourself. I'm not saying it's easy to switch your mindset, right? It's a very simple thing to switch your mindset. All you're doing is you're reframing, going from being upset, focusing on the sad, to focusing on happy. So I want to talk about pushing yourself and making sure that you are living up to a standard that you want to live. Motivation is a hard thing to come by. I happen to be very lucky that I have a intrinsic level of motivation, which means I am internally motivated. Some people have the extrinsic motivation, which is, something else motivates them to do X, Y, and Z. But I want to ask you about your motivation to continue pushing yourself and building your brand and building your business. Yuval, what do you do to make sure that the stuff you're doing is the best it possibly can? Because quite frankly, this advice is extremely important and you can literally change people's lives with it. So talk to me a little bit about how do you push yourself to continuously be the best person you can every day?
First of all, myself, I'm a big believer into personal growth and self-development, and everything that I share, I do myself. So I go myself to seminars, I go myself to trainings. I have friends that are coaches, and we talk on the phone with each other. Sometimes we get some advice, get coached, and it's important to keep on moving, keep on growing. It doesn't matter what you do. You got to have a different perspective. Sometimes you need someone to show you things from different perspectives, because we see things from our own eyes. Sometimes we need to see what's going on from someone else's perspective. And sometimes it's not them telling you what to do, it's them asking you the right questions. And usually that's where we personally start to see things from a different perspective in our life. So it's very important to work with people. Maybe it could be a coach, a friend, family member, someone that you know that would ask you the right questions. It's very important to keep on developing ourselves, go to trainings, go to seminars, go to read books. I love reading books. I love seeing movies that inspire me. So I make sure that I maintain this this box that we have up here to make sure it functions well, and that make sure I can function well to bring and help others reach the results that they want in life and reach their potential.
The coach gets coached, guys. He doesn't just say this stuff and not do it himself, right? Proof is in the pudding. I mean, Yuval obviously is a great guy. He's doing amazing things. And I mean, I would hope that everybody learned something this episode, because I know I learned a ton about how I think, how I process information, my body language, how my brain works. This is so useful, guys. You might not think it falls into the category of personal branding, but it is the foundation of personal branding. And I really, I'm amazed by what Yuval has taught us today. I had a very high bar for you, and you somehow exceeded it. So I really want to thank you again for coming on today's show. Before I let you go, Yuval, where can people find you across social media? I want people to hear your stuff. Like, one episode simply isn't enough.
I have on my Instagram or Facebook, you can search my name, Yuval Teren, YUVALTEREN. And through my personal Instagram page, also, you can go to my coaching fear page, where I have also a lot of videos that I share and inspirational content for you to learn from. So once you find my profile, Yuval Teren, YUVALTEREN, you have access to all of the other information that is out there.
I love it. Everyone, make sure you go follow Yuval. And I really want everybody to share this episode with one person. If you made it this far, all I'm asking you to do is, in addition to following Yuval, because that's going to help you, go share this episode with somebody. I guarantee you there's somebody out there, a friend, a family member, a friend of a friend. I don't know. There's somebody that needs to hear this episode, because the stuff you learn from Yuval, and he talks about switching your mindset, imagination, all this stuff. There's endless topics that he covers in here that are so important to your self-development, your personal brand. I want everybody to go share it with one person. That's all I'm asking. So please go ahead and do that. And again, Yuval, you've been an amazing guest. Until next time, keep schmoozing.